Welcome in. Episode number 24 of the St0ner Sports Radio podcast. Today we will be discussing the men's final in basketball for college. So I'll tell you all about the national championship game. We'll recap the women's national championship game and go over the controversy between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. And then we'll go through the NBA standings, give you our matchups that we're looking forward to most as of right now. And we'll go ahead and give you our Masters predictions as well, because, you know, we're just golf geniuses. Give you our locks of the week in our 5-leg parlay type, not parlay, picks for the St0ner Sportsbook. Joining me today, special guest, Zach Huffman. Zach, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Great to be here. Wild weekend of sports last weekend, so a lot to talk about.
Yeah, a lot to talk about indeed. Let's just go ahead and jump right into this, right? So last night, UConn versus San Diego State, huge game in respects to the college basketball world. And once again, the Huskies get off to a very fast start, and they just kind of roll over the San Diego State Aztecs, as the Aztecs shoot an abysmal 23% from the floor in the first half. So tell me your takeaways from UConn claiming their 5th national title. Final score 76 to 59.
Well, after watching the game, it was just so obvious that the Aztecs, it seemed like they kind of almost got lucky to be there. I mean, the shooting performance from them in the first half was abysmal. I'm looking at the stats right now. Their bench performance was awful. I mean, I think we had 1 or 2 guys get buckets on the bench for the Aztecs. It was pretty bad. They shot 19 of 59 on the game, and then 6 of 23 from 3. That's pretty bad. I thought the Huskies played really well. Jordan Hawkins in particular, I thought was pretty good last night. Although I do think that the Huskies kind of got away with a few things. The Aztecs, I think they brought it back within 7 there in the second half, or maybe it was the fourth quarter. They only had or not fourth quarters college, but they only had about 8 minutes left. I think they were only down 7, and then they just kind of let it get away from them. So, yeah, UConn was definitely the better team.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They played a whole complete game. I think the Huskies, like you said, they just kind of dominated on both ends of the basketball, but really it was more about just San Diego State missing shots, right? I mean, they weren't getting bad looks. The ball just was not going in. You go 11 whole minutes without scoring from the field. You hit 4 free throws, but that was it. You can't have that kind of drought against a team like UConn that's got those bigs inside. And then when you double the bigs, they have someone like Hawkins and Newton, and even Calcaterra and Caravan. They can shoot the 3 and kick it out to them. And the shots were falling, right? I mean, the first half, you had that wild shot by Hawkins with a hand in his face, kind of, legs went almost, full spread eagle, drains the 3 from the right arc. I mean, it was just one of those games where it was like, at halftime, you were going, look, I mean, they can't shoot any worse than they did in the first half, so they're going to score. And that happened, right? In the second half, they shot a lot better, but it just wasn't enough, right? They got it down to 6 at one point, and then, disaster, right? You have the offensive foul, a little forearm shiver by Seiko, and they turn the ball over there, and then what happens on the following possession? Boom, Calcaterra nails a 3, and the lead's back up to 9. And you're going, every time they made a push, UConn just had the answer, just waiting for them on the other side of the floor, even after having, 2 or 3 possessions in a row where they're not scoring and allowing San Diego State to score. They didn't get it. They didn't let it get to that point where UConn fans were sitting there going, yeah, we're sweating this motherfucker out.
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest takeaway I had to be the bench. The bench for San Diego State was god awful last night. They totaled 10 points, and they're lucky. I think they got 10 points off the bench last night.
Yeah.
And then you look at UConn, they had 16, which makes the difference in these kind of games.
Yeah, I mean, but the big thing about it, Zach, is San Diego State throughout the season averaged 26 points off the bench.
Yeah.
And so when, like you said, when you have only a third of that, production, it's not helping you. Not helping you at all.
Mhm. Yeah, and you can tell that the Aztecs didn't really have anyone going off for them. I mean, let's see, we had 2 players get 13, Johnson had 14, but you look down at the Huskies, you got Newton with 19, Hopkins with 16, St0ner with 17. I mean, they just couldn't play. They just couldn't play on ball defense last night. It was
Yeah, there was,
really bad.
and when they did, it was called a foul. I mean, here's the other thing you got to think about
Mhm.
is UConn was in the bonus from the 12-minute mark in the second half through the rest of the game. I mean, in the double bonus for the last 6 minutes. And that means any reach in call, anything, you're going to shoot free throws. And when a team is shooting 86 or 87% from the free throw line, I think you have that number in front of you. Was it 89%? It was something
Uh,
ridiculous.
yeah, we got 88.9%,
Yeah, so eight,
24
so
of
it might as well be
27.
89% from the line. That's not helping you out.
Mhm.
I mean, they're not missing free throws. There was no Achilles heel last night where San Diego State could say, "Aha, this is our path to getting back in this basketball
Uh-huh.
game." The only thing they had going for them was bang, there's a three, bang, there's a three. Down low, little floater goes. I mean, but then on the other end, like you said, couldn't find a stop, and every time they thought, okay, it's a two possession game. Time for somebody to nut up. There's a wide open three for somebody in a white jersey. So it just
Yeah.
seemed like there was no momentum. But when you dig yourself a hole that deep, it's like, what are you gonna do, right? I mean, that's just such a deep hole to climb out of. I mean, look, you go 12 at halftime, that's not bad, but it didn't feel like
Yeah.
12, right? It didn't. It felt like 20. Like it felt like this is going to be a huge hill, and it was mainly because the shooting performance was so mid. So, my takeaways was, great season from UConn, obviously. I mean, you have to give them props. I mean, no one thought they would really be there except for, the homers. You look at San Diego State, obviously, like you said, probably not supposed to be there. But here's my question to you before we kind of wrap this segment up is, would FAU have given us a better game last night? Do you believe that if Lamont Butler doesn't hit that game-winning shot on on Saturday, that we're sitting here talking about a game that was not competitive at all, really?
I thought about that earlier, and I really don't think FAU would have given them a game either. I don't think they had the defense for UConn. Um, UConn was just obviously the best team, in this Final Four, and it was not a question.
Yeah,
Now, I do think if we had Miami in here instead of UConn, then San Diego probably could have given us a better game. But like I said, UConn just the better team here.
yeah, and I mean, I said on the last episode I wanted an all Florida final. I think that if we had had an all Florida final, I think we
Mhm.
would have had a really good game. But I don't disagree with the fact that the best team out of these last four teams won. Now, obviously, you go beyond that. You can't really make that discussion, right? I mean, you go, oh, well, the last eight teams, they were the best. Like, you can't really say that, right? But they played the best out of any team in this tournament. I mean, you win it, an average of victory margin for them was 13 and a half points. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's blowing the doors off of every single team that you played. And I thought the
Mhm.
biggest one, I think, that was kind of surprising to me the most wasn't Miami. It wasn't. It was Arkansas, right? I mean, you look at that
Yeah.
Arkansas game. That was the one where we were like, what the hell is going on? I mean, that was kind of the wake up call with like, if they play like this for the rest of the way, no one's going to beat this team. And obviously, you have huge amounts of help, right? Houston gets knocked out. That's a huge help. I mean, you have the situation where Marcus Sasser for Houston is the hand is healing. He drops 20 in that second round game. You're like, okay, maybe this Houston team is back together and getting something going. Then Miami says, fuck you, and it just knocks him out right there. And then you're looking at UConn going, I mean, Miami's no world beater. I mean, we knew
Mhm.
that going into this tournament that they were. I mean, getting them to the Elite Eight in the first place is a huge accomplishment for Jim Larinaga and that squad. I mean, no one really thought they would get that far either. I mean, this is the perfect epitome and personification of college basketball now being this whole entire system of uncertainty, right? The one and done rule has made this to where there's no team that can really be dominant, right? The last good team that could ever pull the strings together where five freshmen were really making it happen was Kentucky. back when they had John
Yeah.
Wall and Boogie and Willie Cauley-Stein and all those guys.
Mhm.
I mean, that was the team where you were like, hey, they're gelling, they've got good chemistry. You know, these are obviously NBA type players, and they rolled through that tournament, right? But we are not going to see that again. Not with NIL, not with
Mhm.
the transfer portal. This is now a tournament where if you're hot, you're going to win this thing. I don't care what seed you are. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Um, there's just no there's just not any more consistency in college basketball anymore, especially with this one and done rule, NIL and everything. I don't see one team being dominant for multiple years. I don't think we're going to have a back to back in a very long time. And you know what? Back to that Elite Eight conversation. I think that UConn got lucky that Texas lost to Miami. I think Texas had a bad game against Miami, and if they had played like they were supposed to, I think that they are probably the national champions today. I don't think that UConn had. I don't think UConn could have beat Texas. That's just my opinion. Um, but real quick, I'm looking at the stats between UConn and San Diego, and one thing that stands out to me is that UConn actually had more turnovers
Yep.
than San Diego. It's just San Diego was obviously not able to capitalize on these things. I mean, the
But
fouls
the thing
weren't
is, it's
good.
only one more though. I mean, 13's a lot, but
One
San
more.
Diego State had 12. I mean, that's so many. I mean, like that. And the thing
Mhm.
is UConn was scoring off those turnovers, and San Diego State obviously not. I think that's
Yeah.
also a huge thing. There is points off of turnovers almost non-existent in comparison. So
Just is
I
sad.
mean,
And then, I mean, in San Diego State, 75% from free throw is good, not as good as 89%.
yeah, 75 will win you a lot of games. 70. I mean,
Yeah.
most coaches 75% from everybody that goes to the stripe. I'm taking that.
hmm
But you're not telling me, the bigger story, which is the other team shooting like 90%. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just staggering. I mean, and then I'm telling you, I mean, Adama Sanogo, for a big dude, fantastic free throw shooter. I mean, didn't only missed one last night. I mean, it was just the basket looked like an ocean for UConn in that first half, and in the second half, obviously they didn't shoot the ball as well, and the second half is where most of those turnovers took place, and that's why you had that lead get down to 6. It was a combination of them cooling off, San Diego State finally finding some sort of rhythm, and it was just one of those too little too late, and then UConn just making those big shots in big moments, and just never letting it get to like, oh, well, what's going on here.
And I remember at halftime, Charles Barkley was talking about how offensive rebounds would be the key for San Diego State. And the funny thing is, they actually did do better on the offensive glass than UConn, but they couldn't get those shots back up.
Yep.
They get the board and they're just missing these
Yeah, we're
layups.
blocked. Yeah.
They're getting blocked. They're missing these layups. They're not able to capitalize on what should be easy buckets.
Yeah, I mean that we saw that in the first half. We saw a possession in the first half where they had 3 offensive boards, all recovered by Leedy underneath, and he couldn't get it to go. And then finally, Sonogo just said enough of that, smacked it off the backboard, and there goes UConn in transition. I mean, it was just one of those games where it was just like the bigger. I mean, because we knew that UConn was the taller team going into this. We knew that was going to be to their defensive benefit. They ended up with 6 blocks last night. San Diego State had 2. I mean, but they've been doing that all season long. I mean, Coach Hurley, fantastic coach. Props to UConn. But in the end, what we're going to come down to is they did what they were supposed to do. And out of the teams that were left, they did what they were supposed to do. It would have been a bigger surprise if San Diego State would have pulled this thing out. It would have been, a great way to just, again, reiterate that this game has changed probably for the foreseeable future. But I think that having UConn take care of business kind of, gets back to that discussion of, they're still UConn. They can still make one of those magical runs if everything is pumping the way it did for the last 5 games.
Exactly. Yep. Just a great performance by UConn. A national championship game by 17. That's something to talk about.
Yeah, and good for them. All right, let's move on here. So women's college basketball final again,
Mhm,
another game that wasn't very close. Iowa came in, Caitlin Clark hotter than fish grease. I mean, just
mhm,
absolutely is the Steph Curry of women's college basketball. I think there's no doubt about somebody that's got parking lot range and just an absolute animal as far as being able to just offensively impose her will. And the foul trouble for her early really limited her effectiveness in that first half. And once again, you see an LSU squad that as a team performs better than Iowa due to the fact that Caitlin Clark is so much a part of that offense when she's off the floor. Warnock is good, not as good. They have players, but they're just not Caitlin Clark. And not
They're
that
just
that's
not
not
Caitlin
not
Clark.
that anybody can really be Caitlin Clark. I mean, that's kind of an unrealistic expectation to
Hmm.
to put upon anybody that's not her on that roster, if not college, women's college basketball as a whole. But they're just not her. They don't give you that offensive threat. There's no one as consistent as her on that offense. And LSU took full advantage of that, and they had some of their role players actually overperform their season average in stats. And when you have somebody that you don't expect to hurt you, and they hurt you all game long, um, and that ended up being Angel Reese. I mean,
Yeah.
she's a good player, but she just went bananas. And the link between her and Jordan Hawkins is fantastic. The fact that they're cousins, I think that's a fantastic storyline. But that's not the point. The point is, well, I guess it could be that she just comes from a lineage of good basketball players. It's in their genes. Um,
Mhm.
but I think that the bigger thing just came down to the refs limiting Kaylin Clark. Picked up that technical in the second half as well for thinking the ref was underneath the basket and rolling the ball to nobody. They checked her for delay of game, and it was a very interesting evening for officials, and people were obviously upset. But that's not the storyline really coming from this game, is it?
No. Obviously, everyone's talking about Angel Reese. Everyone, and it's either good or bad. I personally, I have absolutely no problem with what Angel Reese did. Competitive game. Caitlin Clark did very similar things. I think I thought it was, in fact, I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was proof of their competitive drive, and I think those two have a lot of respect for each other. That people are kind of brushing under the rug. But one of the best storylines from that game is Jasmine Carson. Jasmine Carson not really playing very well. I mean, earlier in the season, not doing too much, and then just comes into the national championship and gives us 22 points. I mean, best player on the floor that night. Even though Angel Reese is what everyone's talking about, I think Jasmine Carson deserves to have more discussion around her name, and I hope that we get to see more of her in the WNBA.
Yeah, I mean, she had a fantastic game, and most of those points came in the first half as well. I think
Hmm.
she had 17 or 19 at halftime, and really kind of disappeared in that second half. But that's where Angel Reese appeared. So I mean, they kind of swapped roles there, right? I mean, it was all Carson in the first half, and all Reese in the second half. So I mean, you had, when you think you're getting relief somewhere, somebody else steps up and just shuts that door completely. And again, Caitlin Clark plays most of that second half with 4 fouls. And they cut that thing to within, I think 12 was probably as low as they got it to, and just couldn't break that 10-point threshold to make this thing even a little bit,
Hmm.
and in the end, that's what people are talking about is the John Cena Angel Reese, to Caitlin Clark right there at the free throw line. And I'm on the same page with you with this. I mean, people in general don't care about women's sports enough, and I
Hmm.
think when you have something like this happen, um, to me, it brings more intrigue, in my opinion, to wanting to watch, right? I mean,
Yes.
because in general, and this is, a very misogynistic take by me, I'll admit it. I don't normally watch women's basketball or women's sports in general. I just don't. And it's not because, it's, a female thing. It's because the product just isn't as good. And I don't think there's any way really around that right now. I don't think that right now we're living in a time where we can say, oh, the product is comparable to the NBA when you talk about the WNBA or
Hmm.
men's college hoops and women's college hoops. Like, I mean, now there is a huge disparity between men's hoops and the NBA. You can definitely say that. But between like women's college and WNBA, also a decent jump, but it's may still. I mean,
Yeah.
you're seeing air balls from three, you're seeing missed layups at the WNBA level. Not that you don't see missed layups in the NBA, it happens. I think it's just part of the game, but it seems more frequent in the WNBA and stuff like that. And I feel like for viewers that can kind of turn them off of wanting to watch. Um, but you have to understand, Zach, that this is a trend that for women is going in an upward trajectory at a very rapid pace,
Oh yeah,
and Caitlin
huge.
Clark is a huge part of that. Whether people recognize that or not, this is changing the women's game for the better. Having someone like her be in this and be this unstoppable offensive force, and the fact that I believe, and many other men believe, that I'm not D'ing her up. Some for the most part, for most of my life, I've watched women's college basketball and been like, I could put some of these girls on skates. I mean, it's not great. I mean, for me to even have the belief that I could do that is bad for the game. But when you watch Caitlin Clark, you're like no, pass, like no, not wouldn't catch me dead. And that's great because that's what it needs to be. These girls need to be rewarded for their hard work and the fact that yes, I know that I could probably not set foot on a D1, women's basketball court and do anything. Like, but the fact that I used to think I could is terrible. I never thought I could
Mhm.
step on a D1 men's court and like put up 10. You know what I'm saying? Like I've never thought that. I've never thought I could jump into an NBA game when it's, not garbage time and even get a shot up. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, that's just reality for 99% of the population as a whole, okay? Like we're looking
Yeah.
at the top 1% of 1% when we talk about professional athletes at any level. Um, but the baked in misogyny from growing up, and the fact that the product has been so mid, in comparison, is definitely a factor in the way our brains have been shaped to perceive
Mhm.
women's sports as a whole. And I think that finally the lid is kind of coming off of that, right? We're seeing that.
Mhm. You
um
see some of these high school athletes, these women's basketball high school athletes, and they're starting to not just kind of barely dunk the ball, they're starting to be able to throw it back and dunk. I mean, it's starting to get a lot more entertaining, and I think, especially with Caitlin Clark, the trajectory is just all the way up. I mean, the women that are growing up now in basketball are just better, and they're just going to continue to get better. And I mean, when I'm watching this Iowa team over this last tournament, I'm looking at Caitlin Clark and thinking like the Thunder could use her. Like, I mean,
mhm,
she's just a dog, and the shooting is out of this world. I mean, she did take 19 threes in the national championship game, but she had to. I
mhm.
mean, I don't really know if you can
Yeah, that was the
win
only
a
way they
game
were
without
getting back
that
in it.
happening. Mhm. But this, I mean, I have to agree, and I think that these kind of storylines that we're getting, like Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark, um, the super teams being formed in the WNBA with the Liberty and the Aces, like I think that that's probably all good for the sport, and it's gonna keep growing because of those kind of narratives that the media can kind of latch onto. It's one of the largest things you see in the disparities between the NBA, the WNBA, or even men's college and women's colleges, the advertisements, the sponsors, um, and I think NIL is going to have a big part in that. And I think, for example, I mean, Caitlin Clark is probably going to be the highest paid athlete at Iowa next season overall, and she'll probably be the highest paid women's athlete in the entire country. And I think that's going to be fantastic for her.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's anything negative to say with those connotations. And bringing it back to what you're saying about high school women's basketball, yeah, I've watched those tapes. And here's the other thing I'm noticing. I remember in high school and early in my college days watching women's sports, and the biggest thing about women's high school basketball and women's college basketball at the time was the heaving of the shot, right? Like the starting at the
Hmm.
hip and launching it from the hip with most of the shooting motions, right? But now you're seeing these shooting motions that are very fluid, just like most of the men's, shooting motions tend to be in comparison. And that's another huge thing is 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 these girls are not, you know let me dial it back here. So women's sports didn't really get off the board, Zach, until like the 1980s, right? The 1980s is when the WNBA, was being formed late in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? So in general, when you're thinking about just the development of females when it comes to the world of sports, being included took them forever, right? So they're already
Hmm.
stunted by the fact that they have not been a part of the environment for centuries, right? I mean, that's a huge part of it, right? Now they're trying, like, what I'm comparing right now to is probably the NBA in the 90s, right? Like they have gotten to that point. But the reason that it's not matching up and the reason there's been such a big gap is because we have excluded females from this, atmosphere for so long, which
Mhm,
was wrong, terrible, shouldn't have done it, shouldn't have happened. But we're seeing the evolution of the sport in front of our eyes in a way that we have not been able to do in the past with men's sports because of the fact we did not have a lot of recording devices or cameras when this infancy was taking on in men's basketball. Now we see the footage from like the 40s, and you're like, damn, like these plumbers would get smoked, and
oh, yeah.
I mean, but that's where the women were in like the 70s and 80s. Like that's the comparison. Like that's how bad it was because of the fact we had excluded them, which was terrible of us, but that was the way it was. There's no changing that, but I mean that's what happened. And so we're now seeing the evolution of this sport on a not only a gradual scale, but a very accelerated gradual scale. And I think that's fantastic. And I think in the next 30 years, you'll be saying that these WNBA players could play on NBA teams for sure.
Mhm,
No bars, none would start. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think you can
yeah,
say that now. I mean, Caitlin Clark is good, but can she get a shot off? It would be my concern.
yeah,
Is she going to need
yeah,
3 or 4 screens to get open? I mean, it's still a different level of play, I think. But I think that could she drop 9, 12 points? Probably. I don't think I would. Because I mean, if she shot 19 threes, I think she could make 4 in an NBA game. I think
mhm,
that would be something she could do. Um, but I think we'll get to that point where we'll be like, no, these girls could be a literal asset to the Lakers or somebody. And I think the super teams is great as well because you'll have a competitive final. The Liberty and the Aces will meet probably in the WNBA finals because still it's one of those things where if you have 3 or 4 better players than another team, you're gonna probably dominate them. There's still that huge gap between really good players in the WNBA and good players, and that will continue
mhm,
to shrink as well. And so I'm excited for the product. I'm excited, and I really think that this situation that people are talking about is more of an asset than a detriment to the sport.
oh,
I
yeah,
think people are definitely overreacting in a negative light.
mhm,
Um,
and we're still talking and everyone's still talking about it today,
yeah,
and, you know, and I think I don't know if you've seen, I think it's the White House was thinking of inviting Iowa as well to the
yeah, I
White. That's
hate
ridiculous, like,
hated it. I hate that idea. I hate that idea.
what are we doing?
Yeah,
But I think it's
yeah,
good that
that's one of
everyone's
those
talking
that's one
about
of
it.
those things where it's like you're really taking this situation to a level it doesn't need to be taken to. I mean, it's not that serious. Like literally. I mean, you watch any NBA game and the trash being talked about. I mean, if you watch old podcast clips of Kevin Garnett talking about some of the smack that Gary Payton was serving him and stuff,
Mhm,
hide your family, hide your kids. It was some, it's some woo, like yeah. You better not say that shit on the streets. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like that's the type of stuff going on, and we don't complain about that. So why do you care if Angel Reese is giving Caitlin Clark the business? Deservedly so. Caitlin dished it
mhm,
out against Louisville. Caitlin's been dishing it out the
mhm,
whole tournament. But it's part of her personality as well, and what makes her so good. I think it's what also makes the game more, because I like seeing girls be competitive. Just the other day, I saw a tweet about the Virginia Tech, player from Australia, the little point guard, and they said, "Oh, she was all smiles after getting smoked by LSU in the Final Four. Why are you happy, girl? Like you see these
mhm,
men and they're crying and crying and shit, and you're over here smiling with Kim Mulkey. Like, what are you doing?" And I'm like, the season's over. Like the game is over. Like if she's able to
mhm,
move past it and know that she's coming back for another year and that it's not really her last game at Virginia Tech. I don't know if it was or not. I don't know if she's a senior, but I mean, if it wasn't, you're going to get over that a lot quicker than you would if like that's your last game. And that's an NBA quality point guard or a WNBA quality point guard that you're looking at with that Virginia Tech point guard. So she's definitely not going to be playing her last game of basketball, even if it was her senior, year. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with her being all smiles. Some players can get over that stuff and not look too deep into it and go, I gave it my all. There's no changing this. It's in the past. And if some guys want to get emotional about it and cry because they probably won't be going to the NBA and they're probably literally wearing the last jersey they're going to wear because again, 90% of these college players don't go pro. So you're looking at a lot of guys where that's it for them. And I can see both
mhm.
sides of that coin. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
Well, I mean, so for me, I really enjoy the competition. It's why I enjoyed watching Kobe Bryant so much when I was younger. um, just the amount of competitive trash talk and everything. And that point about some players being all smiles after losing, I think back to the 2016 NBA Finals after LeBron and the Cavs made that great comeback. You're looking at Steph Curry after the game, and he's not really that upset. He knows that he's going to be back. He knows that he has more years. He knows that he is that quality of a player. And I don't think that we shouldn't be judging people based on their reactions to whether they won or they lost. Now, do I think that the competitive aspect of it is important, and do I think that you should have some sort of emotion after the game? Yes. Um, I think that shows that you care. I think it shows that you wanted your team to win and that you're upset that they didn't. But not everyone has to react like Joel Embiid after losing in the playoffs. You know, we don't. It's not required to prove that you are competitive.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't quantify like, oh, this person doesn't give it 110%. Because I mean, that point guard is a very good player. And
Hmm.
she's going to start, if not give heavy minutes in the WNBA. She's a good player. So I think that again, you're looking at someone that is competitive in that respect, and I think that competition and trash talk is good for any sport, really. I mean, when you had the golf thing going on, right, with the whole like Tiger Woods handing a tampon to whoever. I mean, I loved that because
That was
golfers to me are like
hilarious.
the biggest weenies in the world. Like you're playing a vacation sport professionally. Like
Hmm.
I mean, not that there's not weightlifting or any hard work or endless nights of hitting balls that these guys put into it, but it's like, come on, man! Like you're on a golf course. It's
Yeah,
75 degrees normally. Sunny. You're out there. The only thing you're missing is like an 8 pack. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just
yeah,
it's so having trash talk in golf made me that didn't make me want to watch it because I just can't on TV. I'm sorry, but I mean,
can't do it.
like it was like at least they're doing something. Like at least they're trying. I mean I don't know. I mean I think trash talk is just good for any sport really.
I mean, and that's just proof that Tiger Woods is the only thing that'll ever make anyone watch golf. If
Yes.
if we're being honest.
Yeah. I mean,
No
and
one's
I
tuning in to watch Roy McIlroy or Phil Mickelson. Like we're all watching Tiger Woods, and everyone wants to
exactly.
watch Tiger Woods. And it's sad that he's getting up there in the years, and that we won't be able to see him that long anymore. But thankfully, it looks like he has a kid that is going to be on the PGA Tour before too long. So
Yeah, I mean that's good news for golf. I mean that's for
mhm.
damn sure. I mean you might be able to see him on the senior PGA coming through OKC, brother. I mean you don't know. I mean he
Yeah,
could be playing at Oak Tree here in about 10 years. Bringing a
yeah,
crowd over there. I mean because that's just that's where they sometimes have that tournament. And if I could see him doing something like that. I mean because I think it's one of those things where he has a problem stepping away. I think he likes it so much kind of like Tom Brady, where it's like I don't want to stop because this is really all I know. And I mean, I just yeah, but I agree. I think that Tiger Woods is the only thing that's been holding that sport together in general. And when anybody brings up like Jordan Spieth or anybody like that, I'm like, but that doesn't make me want to watch. Like I mean, like it doesn't. Like I mean, I'm sorry, but
yeah.
nobody is Tiger Woods. Like it's just a different feel. I mean, Sunday Red, everything about it.
Hmm.
I think that it's just and the fact that he was so dominant too, right? Like I mean, you just knew like coming into Sunday, like this dude's gonna be in the top five, battling it out for that trophy, and he's probably gonna beat him by 4 or 5 strokes. I mean, and that was every weekend. You're turning it on at grandma's house. After Sunday brunch, you're like, oh, there's Tiger Woods wearing that red, and he's in second place. And then by the end of it, he's winning it by 3 or 4 strokes. So, but yeah, I
Easy.
think trash talk, any sport, fantastic. And congratulations to the LSU Tigers. I don't care much for Kim Mulkey, but good for her, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
I can't stand Kim
good
Mulkey.
things
I
happen to
hate.
bad people all the time. I mean, it's just, I mean, great coach, probably
How
not a great
about
person, but great, great coach.
how about her not even giving a statement on the best player she's ever coached being detained in Russia?
Yeah, oof. Yeah, oop.
Like,
Yeah, oop.
what?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So, yeah. So yeah, that kind of that encompassed a lot of things in a short span of time. But I think we covered it in the in depth, the best way, in the respectful way that we could. giving these women their props and really understanding that trash talk is just part of it, and I don't care what direction it's coming from. If the winning team is talking smack, they can talk smack because they're beating your ass, and that's just part of it.
They want. That's
Comes
just
with
how
the
it goes.
territory. Comes with the territory, especially if you're showcasing it 95% of the time. You're gonna get it back for sure. And LSU definitely enjoyed being able to wave bye bye to the ladies in white. Um, yeah, yeah. Give me the ring. Deserve the ring. Cousins got a ring. You got a ring. Everybody gets a ring, deservedly so. Um,
Hmm.
so let's touch on this a little bit. We're gonna jump into the NBA. So let's look at these standings here because I think that right now with 3 games left for most of these teams, I think we're getting down to where we can kind of find out where some of these teams are gonna be placed. I'm gonna start out with the Eastern Conference here, and we'll look at this.
Yeah.
So obviously Milwaukee, Boston, and Philly are your top three. There is a
Hmm.
little bit of disparity between Philly and Boston, where you could possibly see Philadelphia jumping the Celtics here for that 2 spot, but I don't think that's going to happen because the Celtics are going to have to lose 3 straight, so that's probably not going to
Hmm.
happen. Um, as far as any other controversy, really, it's just Cleveland and 76ers. Cleveland at that 4 spot. They're only 2 games behind Philly. That seems like more of a possibility to flip flop than really anything else. As far as these standings go, Miami and
Hmm.
Brooklyn round out 6 and 7. The Knicks are at that 5 spot. They seem to be securing that pretty well. Um,
How about the Nets?
the
I
Nets
think the
right
Nets.
now are coasting off of
Yeah.
losing their most talented assets, I would say. Um, I wouldn't want to play them per se if I'm anybody in the Eastern Conference because I think when you lose somebody like Kyrie, and you lose like some of that ball hoggish nature of this guy's gonna have the ball in his hands and shoot 60% of the shots probably from the team, you start functioning as a complete unit a little more, and I think that's what you're seeing right
Mhm.
now. They're on a 3 game winning streak right now. They are 4-6 in their last 10, so they've kind of been on a little bit of a downward slope, but winning these last 3 has been good for them.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, let's see. So they'd match up against the 76ers if the playoffs started today.
yes,
And I think that's a good matchup for them
it
because I look
is.
at Nick Claxton. He's a great defensive center. He's the only one in this entire conference besides Giannis that I think is going to be able to hold Joel Embiid if necessary. So I like that. And I think the only real like controversy you can see here is these play-in teams.
Yeah,
You know, you have the Raptors and the Hawks. They're neck and neck for that 8 and 9 seed. The Bulls,
yeah,
I think they're pretty comfortably in the play-in because the Wizards are. I think they're too
yeah,
far behind now.
yeah,
But the Bulls could slide into that 8 or 9 spot if they played well. They'll have to play very well. But they are 7-3 in their last 10 with
yep,
2 game win streak. So 3 more games to go. I could see them sliding into that 8 seed, and if they're lucky, maybe the 7 seed. But that would take a lot.
yeah. Well, and only one team out of those top 10 is on a losing streak, and that's Philadelphia just losing their last game. They're on a 1 game losing streak. Everybody
Hmm.
else is on a win. It has won their last game. So as far as movement goes, right now, looks like things should stay pretty stable. I think you could be right about the Bulls probably taking over the Raptors spot. I could definitely see that happening.
Hmm.
But both of those teams are 7-3 in their last 10. They're both just matching each other record wise. So it might not change, but I mean, you definitely have time to do it, right? Like if
Hmm.
things fall where they want to, and you have a shot in that last game of the season to jump them, um, do you want to? I don't know. Um, but I mean, it's definitely the most, like you said, probably the most interesting thing to watch out of this top 10 teams in the East. Um,
My favorite team in the East right now is just the Pistons on the most obvious tank
oh,
job
oh,
possible.
oh,
I mean, a 9 game losing streak. They've lost 62 games, and they're probably going to end the season losing 65.
yeah. I mean, they are tanking for Wimby, brother. They are
Mm.
looking for Wimby, and I
They
think
want
Wimby
me.
and Cunningham and all those boys, Jaden Ivey and all them, they're gonna probably be going for a playing game next year. I feel like if they can pick him up
Hmm.
in that lottery, they have a high chance of doing so. Um, let's flip it over here. Western Conference standings here.
This is
Hottest
where.
team in the West right now are the Phoenix Suns on a 5 game winning streak. They have that 4 spot right now, are six and
Mhm.
four in their last 10. Um, They just
They're my
got
pick.
done beating Denver, right?
They are my pick out of the West.
Okay. Wow,
I
he's
think
he's putting
I
it
think
out
the
there.
Suns are playing. Yeah, I think the Suns are playing very well over these last couple of games. I think Kevin Durant's finally starting to gel like he needs to. Um, yeah, I don't see anyone beating these Suns
Yeah,
if
they look
if
good.
they're completely healthy.
Yeah, they look good. They look good.
Obviously,
Um,
it's these playing spots that everyone's looking at.
yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
whew,
again, playing spots here in the West. Very coveted right now. The Thunder at that 10 spot. Um,
mm, we're trying.
Dallas nipping at their heels. Both these teams on a losing streak. Thunder lost their last two. Mavericks lost their last three. Timberwolves have lost their
Heartbreaking.
last three. So they haven't really, you know, closed that gap between them and the Thunder. Thunder very much could take over that 9 spot.
Hmm.
Lakers right now, they're on a 3-game winning streak, 7-3 in their last 10, and have secured right now what is the 7 spot. I wouldn't say secured, but all the way up to, I would say, the 6 or 5 spot here. Um, I don't know if you noticed this, Zach, but with 3 games remaining, if the Clippers and Warriors lose their last 3, which I don't think is going to happen, but they are
Yeah.
5-5, both of those teams in their last 10, and don't really have a need to really try to win. They're going to make the playoffs. But if you take a look, if they lose their last 3, and I know that they hold the tiebreaker over the Thunder, but the
Mhm.
Thunder could probably nab that 7 spot. That you do have that possibility out there, but you have the same possibility of the Lakers jumping the Warriors right here. They actually hold the tiebreaker over GSW. So
Mhm.
if for some reason the Clippers and the Warriors lose their last 3, this thing could get interesting, because
Lakers can
you
get
would
that
have a
5 seed.
huge shuffling of some of these teams. Now, like you said, small chance, right? We're looking
Mhm.
at minute possibilities of this happening. But even if they lose 2 out of the 3, right, you could still see some animosity here. But they're gonna need some help. But I feel like the interest level is there, right?
Mhm. I'm looking see, true. I think the Lakers could easily get into that 5 seed if they really they're on a 3-game winning streak. They're 7-3 in their last 10. I mean, they're playing well when they need to. But what I'm interested in is the Mavericks because the Mavericks here they're thinking about shutting down Luca and Kyrie, and I think I have to agree. I don't think that team, even with Luca and Kyrie healthy, is doing anything in the playoffs. They just don't work well together. I think that Kyrie, and it's odd because Luca has really been the problem here, and not Kyrie.
Hmm.
Um, Kyrie's already pretty much said that he's going to be shopping this offseason. I don't think we're going to see Kyrie in a Mavericks uniform next season. So I think you got to shut them down. But if they don't shut either of them down, or if they only shut maybe one of them down, um, the the Mavericks could take over the Thunder and possibly even the Timberwolves here. I know I would hate it, but if we're being honest, Luca should be in the playoffs. And the Western Conference team like Western Conference Finals team last year, and Luca is looking at the 11 seed right now. This is not good for him, not good for his short but important legacy. You
Yeah,
know,
I agree. I mean, but the thing is I can see why you would maybe want to shut it down, right? I mean, if
Mhm.
Kyrie is openly saying, "Look, I'm shopping. I'm not committed to staying here," then I don't see the point in dragging this team into a play-in game. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see the point. Now, obviously, like you said, the bigger story here is Western Conference Final team to not making the playoffs. Huge, huge blow. Um,
Huge.
because when I thought they signed Kyrie, I was like, look, I mean, if you made the Western Conference Finals last year, you're probably going to make it again, adding Kyrie. Um,
Mhm.
from a talent's perspective, right now we know he's a cancer in the locker room. We know he's got woo woo crazy ideas. I mean, he's not exactly a genius. Um, and but when it comes to having the basketball in his hand, there's not a lot of players I would choose other than him to take the last shot for my life. You know what I'm saying? I feel like
Oh, yeah.
I feel like if you were like, you want to choose Kyrie Irving or you want to choose, you know, Shea Gillis Alexander for a shot to save your life, I'm probably going to go with Kyrie Irving. Um, now if
Very
you
few
give me
people actually
Steph
go
and
with Kyrie.
Kyrie, I might still pick Kyrie Irving in that moment. Now, who is the better player and who has the better legacy? Obviously, it's Steph Curry, but I'm saying from a ball in the hand talent perspective, he's the best point guard we've seen in the last probably 15 years. He's a magician when he has the ball in his hands. And I thought that having that asset would benefit the Mavericks even if they were a little bit volatile as far as chemistry goes, right? Like I was like,
Mhm.
having him on the floor with Luca is a terrible thing for a defense to have to put up with because like you're gonna have to play him one on one, and who's gonna take either of those guys one on one is usually nobody is the answer to either of them. Um, and when you can't double, I mean that's that kind of because you can double Luca, and who's he got around him? Sometimes Tim Hardaway Jr. gets hot. What if you have to lose? There's no Spencer Dinwiddie anymore. You gave him up, so I mean you don't really have that second option that can really burn you. But now you do. That was my thought when this happened, and now obviously it's come to a terrible end right now. And I agree with you with they should probably just shut it down.
Mhm. And it's interesting. I think that I definitely think they should shut Luca down. Now, if they wanted to make a push in this playoff, I guess they could keep Kyrie around. The stat that I saw that really got my attention yesterday, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was like over the last 10 games, when Luca is in and it's just Luca, they are minus 22. When it's just Kyrie, they're like plus 62. I don't I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't know why that's happening. I mean, it just seems like when it comes to like who's the dominant ball handler, who's the number one option, it seems like the Mavericks respond better to Kyrie, even though Luca is obviously the best player on that court. It's interesting. Maybe Luca's just having a little bit of a
It's the
slump at the
defense.
end of
It's
the
got to be
season.
Luca's defense, man. I
It's
think
gotta be.
that's what it's
Yeah.
got to be because he's not a good defender by any stretch of the means, and I think
Mhm.
that's always been the knock on him is he's just a one-sided kind of guy. And I think maybe Kyrie, plus minus wise, gives them an edge more than Luca does defensively, which, like I said, wouldn't be hard. So I think that's probably why you're seeing kind of some of that disparity, and also the fact that Kyrie's kind of a pure point guard and Luca's just not that. And I think that's another
Yeah.
thing is I think that you have the pass making ability of Kyrie Irving is underestimated because he doesn't normally pass it. So I think but when he does, they're good decisions. Guys are open and guys finish. And I think that that's another thing is you're not really seeing Luca ever rack up the assist numbers. I mean, he's usually under 6 assists every game. So I mean, you're not really looking at a guy that's really dishing the ball out. But
Yeah.
he shouldn't have been because he's their offense. So it's kind of a futile argument, but it's an argument to make where it's like why are they performing better? I think it's obvious, um, but I am surprised by the gap. Right, I get the disparity, but that gap is massive, and I think that it just kind of speaks more to maybe Luca's just not playing well.
Yeah, just not playing well at the end of this season. And like you said, the defense is god god awful. And anytime you watch Luca plays, he's not hustling on defense. He's not, he's getting blown by. He's just not he's just not there defensively, and it's really really hurting the Mavericks when he's supposed to be the anchor of that team.
Yeah, I agree. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where we are as far as the standings go and kind of where the playoffs are kind of sitting. I think all eyes, like you said, are on the playing games right now.
I think all eyes right now are looking at that 6 through 11 seed in the West.
Hmm.
Um, any one of those can switch.
Yeah, huge game tonight for the Thunder playing the Warriors tonight. If they win this game tonight,
Yes.
you're gonna see because that right there is a direct line right here to that 6 seed is
Mhm.
knocking off the Warriors tonight. We'll see what approach the Thunder take if the starters are going to play. We'll kind of see what GSW does as well because if they sit Clay or Steph or anybody tonight, um, that's a that'll be huge, and I don't think they will because I think both these teams know that this is a fighting for the middle of the playoffs to the bottom here. So
No
huge,
chance
huge
the
game
Warriors
tonight.
sit Steph here. I don't think there's a single chance that the Warriors sit Steph or Clay here. They are fighting to make sure they don't have to play a play-in game. And if they can avoid playing a play-in game, then they stay in that 6 seed, and they got to play the Kings in the first round. And I think the Kings are a great matchup for the Warriors. Steph can obviously keep up with De'Aaron Fox, and Draymond is probably good enough to hold Domantas Sabonis to not 20, 20, and 15 every game. So we'll see what can happen there. But I truly think that we're getting the standings we're looking at right now are not even going to be close to what they are at the end of the season. In 3 games from now, I think that you know I'm torn if the Lakers are gonna stay in that 7 seed or if they're gonna move up. I mean, they're playing well. It's interesting. I mean, you have D'Angelo Russell there, you know, that's an interesting team to look at for the playoffs. It's especially since LeBron James is finally starting to, I think, embrace that second option role. He's starting to, instead of getting his 25, he's starting to look at 18 and 10, and I think that those kind of numbers from LeBron are why they're winning these games.
Yeah, I agree. I think that right now we're shaping up for some animosity. I'm ready for it. I'm here for it.
Mhm.
Give me all the NBA tea. Give me all of it. All right, let's move into the most exciting portion of the podcast. We're talking about the Masters, folks. It's happening. We are golfing it up here. We'll give you our top two probably picks to probably go home with that green jacket. Everyone's that green jacket, and I know just who's
Mhm.
gonna get it. So right now, I'm looking at DraftKings odds right here for winning this green jacket. Right now, Scotty Scheffler leads the way
Yep.
at plus 650. He's been the top ranked player in the world for quite some time, playing
Yeah.
very good golf right now. Um,
His master to lose.
say what? His
I
Masters
think
to
it's his
lose? Yeah,
master.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel that way. I would not have a problem putting a tenner on Scotty Scheffler to take home that green jacket. Get me
Mhm.
some money, brother. I think that that could be, because a $10 bet on this, it'll give you 75. So I mean, I think that that's a decent a decent pick. Um, Rory
Looks like
Mac
Roy McIlroy has the same odds.
no, he's got 100 fewer odds. He's at plus 750, so he's a
Okay.
little bit behind him. Obviously, also not a bad pick. If you're looking for probably some money to try to move around a little bit, Dustin Johnson at plus 2200, probably not a bad pick. Give you a quick 230 on a tenner. Um, I like Dustin Johnson. He plays very well at this course. He's obviously won it before. I believe, right? I believe he has.
I think it was not too long ago, 3 years ago,
Yeah, he
maybe. I
he
think he
was.
won.
Yes, he was the guy. So I don't have a problem throwing one on there. Um,
Same with Justin
Xander,
Thomas.
what? Justin
I
Thomas,
think the
yeah,
same with Justin
same
Thomas
odds
too.
as Justin Thomas, yeah, and Jason Day. Really, all three of those guys coming in at
Mhm.
plus 2200. Not a bad thing to put on a bet slip if you're trying to make a little coin there. Xander Schwaffel, the OSU grad, is at 2500. He's been playing good. Wouldn't be surprised to see him take this thing all the way. He's
I think
been
he almost won last year or 2 years ago.
yeah,
Wasn't he in
he's
second? Maybe?
yeah, he's up there. Now the big question is where is Tiger Woods at, right? And he's at plus eight
Ooh,
thousand. You want to try a long shot Hail Mary for a Tiger Woods Masters win. It's at plus 8,000.
I'd put a
Behind
10 on.
what?
I'd put 10 on Tiger.
I'm putting a tenner on him, brother. I mean, hey, I mean again, I mean not I mean as I said, if you're looking for the homer long ball and trying to win you $800, go ahead and put it on the Tiger. Um, I'm all for it. I think that as the years go by, the chances gets a little bit slimmer. But hey, any given Sunday, you could see Tiger move his way up there. It's just gonna be how his putting goes. It's always
Mhm.
kind of where it's at. Um, Jordan Spieth is up there at plus 1800. Um, you have Justin Rose down at plus 5,000. Justin Rose has been kind of up and down in his career. He could make a push. Wouldn't be surprised to see Justin Rose in top. I mean, even for a top five finish, you're looking at plus 1,000 for him. I think you could see Justin play very well for the first 2 days. It'll be that third day that usually slips him up. Um, you see a lot of that happen as of late where these guys they get the first 2 days under their belt and they look pretty good, then they just kind of drop off a cliff on Sunday. That's kind of been his kind of trajectory has been up and down. Here's another guy I'm gonna throw at you, Zach. Victor Hovland, right? Another OSU guy. um, he's at plus 4,000. um, Very young. I think this is his first Masters coming out of college. Of course, was college golf player of the year or whatever, and OSU lost in the tournament earlier than they should have. But he remained one of the best players in golf and has played well. What are your thoughts on some of these OSU guys getting in there as far as the odds go? And could we see a hometown guy bring this thing home?
I think if we're gonna see a hometown guy bring it home, it's gonna be Xander Shuffle.
Yeah,
Um,
that's Schnauf, the
um,
Schaffler.
yeah, shout out San Diego State too.
Yeah,
But let's see, he was up there, and I don't know too much about these Masters, but it looks like he was up there in 2019 and 2021. He can all. It looks like he's always up to make a run. I would love to see, I'd love to see someone from OSU get it. That'd be very interesting. Obviously, I'm an OU guy, Boomer Sooner, but
yeah,
you
but
know, seeing someone from the Poets get it would be very interesting. Now, one thing I'm looking at as well is this Roy McIlroy, right? He obviously one of the most talented golfers of the generation, but he hasn't won a major since the 2014 PGA. It's been a long time since he's
big
really
drought.
won anything. Yeah, big drought. It's been almost 10 years basically since he's really won anything. So look for him to try to get that win. Um, we'll see. He's also one of those guys that kind of plays well the first 2 days and then falls apart at the
Mhm.
end. He's not very clutch. So we'll have to see what happens there. I mean, I think obviously you're either gonna get Scotty Scheffler here or I mean Jordan Spieth maybe. But if it's not one of those two, I think you're gonna look at one of those plus 2,000 guys.
Yeah, I mean, John Rahm's been playing okay. I just don't know how much I believe in John Rahm. He's top three on this list. Um, here's a name that's missing from this list. Ricky Fowler. No Ricky Fowler on this list. Another OSU guy that's not doesn't look like he's even partaking. Not on here. But here's some of the guys down at the bottom that names you're gonna recognize, but haven't been playing well. That I think could be super duper sleepers, right? Like, yeah, if you're looking, if I mean, because Tiger Woods, we say it's a Hail Mary. But really, you would put a tenner on him just because you love Tiger Woods, right? It's not
Yeah.
because you really think the dude's got a shot. Here's some guys that might have a shot actually, and are even lower odds than Tiger Woods. Taylor Gooch, right? The Gooch Master at plus 13,000. The Gooch has been up there before. We like the Gooch. We've seen the Gooch win some tournaments in the past. He's down there. Um, Louis Oosthuizen, Mr. Oosthuizen at plus 11,000. Also a name that's usually up there the first 2 days. If they can hold on. What about Sergio Garcia? You remember Sergio Garcia? He's won some stuff
Hmm.
in the past. Plus 15,000 on Sergio. Sergio. Um, and there was one more guy I
Is
saw.
Phil
Oh,
Phil
oh, he
Mickelson in this one?
what?
Is Phil Mickelson competing at this
Yeah,
Masters?
he's at
What
plus
are his odds?
35 grand, brother. If you want to win $3,000 on a tenner, you go with the lefty. I mean, and
Yeah.
and the I mean, talk about someone that's aging like cheese, right? It's Phil Mickelson. I mean, it not exactly a graceful drop off of performance. He won that Masters back in what 2008 or something like that, or whenever that
Oh, wow.
was. Um, that a very good tournament for him, and then just kind of faded in. And what about VJ Singh? You want to get VJ Singh in here? He's like 89 years old at plus 250,000. You want to you want to go for the big butts? You put it on VJ Singh, brother. That dude hadn't won anything in probably a decade. Um, but
Wow.
here's another name of somebody that actually has won something that's kind of low on this list. Zach Johnson, right? Zach Johnson has won a couple tournaments in the past. He's at plus 60,000. Um, another guy that's down there at the what the hell are you thinking level of
You
of
know, those
of
are those are all worth putting, even if it's just a dollar.
right. I
Those are
mean, I
worth
mean,
putting that on.
throw it out there. I mean, these are guys that have won things. What about Bubba Watson? Bubba Watson's
Hmm.
won this thing before. Why don't you go put some money on Bubba? Um, I think his odds are down here underneath. Are they under Tiger or above? I think they're above Tiger. Where is he at?
Could
I
be above.
just saw Bubba on here. Where is he at? Is he really that far down on the list? Yeah, at plus 25,000, it's Bubba Watson. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, put an Abraham Lincoln on Bubba. Put a fiver
Yeah.
on Bubba and roll with it, because again, another name that's been in this thing before, won it before. I mean, Bryson DeChambeau, um, he's on this list of plus 11,000. These are names that are recognizable, maybe not for the right reason with DeChambeau, but I mean he's on here as well. But go ahead and give me your two guys that you would for sure be like, besides Scotty Scheffler, because we think Scotty Scheffler is kind
Mhm.
of, if he's at the top list, he's the favorite. Let's give you two non-favorites that we think can get you somewhere here for the Masters. Go ahead and give me your two, my
The,
friend.
the two that I'm looking at, no matter what, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas. Those are the two that I'm flat out. Those I'd put money on them right now. I actually think that Dustin Johnson might be my pick to win this thing. Um, you know, obviously Scotty Scheffler and everything is fantastic. Jordan Spieth's fantastic. I don't think Roy McIlroy has a chance, if we're being honest. He just can't come into the clutch moment. So, um, yeah, I'd put my money right now, and I might just have to put a tenner on Dustin Johnson and Justin Thomas here.
Yeah, I like those two. Um, Obviously, um, I I like Justin Thomas a lot, right? And if you're not looking at too much of a disparity in odds, you're looking at zero disparity here. Both of those guys at plus 2,200. I mean, but respectfully, I mean, for even top five finishes, I mean, those guys are some of the favorites for top five finishers as well. Um, I like Justin Thomas as well. I like Justin Thomas as my first one. Then I'm just gonna go a little bit lower on this list, and I'm gonna go with the kid. I think Victor, um, he's gonna be the OSU guy and not Xander. I think Victor's gonna have a great weekend. I'm gonna go with Victor Hovland, um, and that's kind of your bigger money. That's your $400 on a tenner at plus 4,000. Um,
I like. Oh,
I
that's
I
good
I,
odds.
I think that I think both of these guys can have really good weekends. Now, my biggest thing about Victor is I think that he might have that same disease where he's good the first 2 days and you're going, yeah, what a pick, and then the third day just the big guns show up and you get your Justin Thomases and
Mhm.
Dustin Johnsons of the world kind of beating you down a little bit. But we'll see. I think the weather looks good for this tournament. I think that these guys are prepped and ready, but I think if you don't want to bet Scotty Scheffler, those are your two bets. But we think Scotty will definitely be up there. He's been playing
Mhm.
great golf, and he's the number one player in the world for a reason. So,
He's a top
obviously,
three
wouldn't
player.
shock us if he walked away with this green jacket. Um, but we don't know how well he plays at this course. I haven't. I don't know if he's even been in the top five in finishes in the last couple Masters. If you want to take a gander at that and let us know.
If he has anything. Um, no, I don't think. Well, let's see. This year he's had 7 starts in majors, and he hasn't finished any lower than 12th. But I don't think he's actually done anything really. Um, I don't think he's done anything at this tournament.
Yeah,
So
because right now for him to finish top five, you're still winning money. A top
yeah,
10 finish, you're not winning any money. But if you put a tenner on him to finish top five, you're still winning $15 and walking away with 25 big ones. So that could say something about the fact that he's not really been out of the top 12, and I don't think he will be. I think if you're betting on a top 10 finish for any of these top three guys here on DraftKings, you're rightfully losing money. I don't think Rory or John Rahm. Maybe John Rahm falls out of the top 10. I could see that happening, and he would need to for someone like Justin or Victor or Dustin to come up there and win this thing. Um, if anybody's going to fall out of this thing quickly, um, my bets would probably be on Jordan Spieth to tank like a rock. Um,
another thing to keep in mind is, well, I lie. Seth Scheffler, obviously, he won the Masters last year.
okay, so
Yeah.
so,
Um,
whoops, egg
but
on face on that one.
there's only been 2 people ever do it back to back.
Okay,
So I'm not looking at
him
I'm not
being
looking
able to
at
do
Scotty
that.
Scheffler to win this tournament.
Okay, yeah, okay. So still, a top five finish. I'd put a tenner on that. You know, give me a quick 25 on Scotty Scheffler to finish top five. I
Mhm,
think that would be a safe thing to do if
mhm.
you're trying
I
to.
would say if you're making your top 5 bets, go ahead and put Scotty and Roy McIlroy in there.
Yep,
I think Roy McIlroy is I don't think he has a shot to win it, but he loves getting 2nd place.
he
So,
does. He does love getting second place. Um, if you were to so the only bad thing about it is you really can't like parlay these
yeah.
picks because of the fact that if you could, you know, you're gonna be winning money if you could. But individually, still, I mean, these are good bets to place if you just want individual slips. And I think you could be comfortable choosing most of these guys to even finish. You know, you look at these top 15 guys on this list. If you wanted to bet on two or three of these guys to even get top 10, go ahead, do it. I think you would be remiss not to try to get
Mhm.
yourself a couple of bucks just trying to rely on the fact that these guys know this course. They kind of know what they're doing. Um,
Looking at Prize Picks right now,
okay.
um, for the for the Masters, and I'm like you can't, I'm liking some of these. You got Roy McIlroy and Scheffler are both at 4.5 on birdies or better. You can look at strokes too. I think they both have, yeah, they're both at 70.5. Um, these aren't bad bets to take.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and I mean, I think that um, I think if you wanted to do parlays, there are a couple you can do on DraftKings where they pair two golfers together. Like, you could pair Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler both finishing top five, right? Um,
Hmm.
I mean, that's at plus 600. Um, you know, it doesn't really get too crazy on this list. Really, the craziest ones are kind of at the bottom. Cameron Smith and Xander Schauffele plus 3,500. The odds don't get super great, but those are some of the ones that they have. They got prop bets on here. I mean, the Guns versus the Field, um, a hole in one, and uh, and a playoff. Um, will there be an albatross? Um, Winner in the final pairing or a wire to wire winner are some of the prop bets that they've got.
I would bet that this Masters comes down to the last pairing here. I don't think we're gonna have a clear winner until the very end.
Yeah, as far as top senior golfers go, Phil Mickelson leads the top senior golfer odds at plus 120 to finish the best out of the senior golfers. Um, I don't see a lot of the other names on this list being able to do much. Fred
Well,
Couples,
what's the cutoff there for
what?
senior golfer?
Say
What's the
what?
cutoff for senior golfer?
I don't, I
55?
don't, I don't. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think yeah. I want to say something like I think 55, right? That
Well, see, that's interesting because Tiger Woods is going to be up there before long, and as soon as he gets into that senior club, I'm hitting Tiger Woods every year on that.
on on the best senior
Senior club.
finish. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, VJ Singh still plus 900 on the senior finish. So I mean, I'm telling you that VJ ticket. If you're really wanting to throw money down a hole, VJ Singh the one to bet on. Um,
Hmm.
but that's kind of our Masters takeaway. Again, wouldn't be surprised if Scotty Scheffler came away with this thing. Last year's winner. But again, back to back, only two players have done it. You're right. Probably not going to be him. Could this be
Well, it's
Rory's year? Could this be Rory's
three.
year?
It was three. It was Jet Nicholas, Nick Faldo, and Tiger Woods all went back to back.
Yeah, I don't think we're
I
going to be
love
seeing
them
Scotty
in the last
Scheffler
20
being
years.
that guy. If Scotty Scheffler does that, though, um, you know, very impressive and
Hmm.
rightfully so. Um, so let's finish this episode out. Let's get our sports book picks in here for you guys before we get out of here. Um, so the way this works, Zach, is we give you $200 of imaginary money. Um,
Okay.
I haven't gone through my picks last episode, so I'm going to go through them right now and expose myself for being probably an idiot. The first pick I had was the Sea Dragons in the XFL, uh, -5 against the Arlington Renegades. I think we got that one. We did. It was a hit there. We put 60 big ones on that, so I keep my 60 there. My other pick was the Lakers minus a point and a half. Where were they at here? This was on whatever day this was on. March 31st. So let me go back here. March 31st. Um, Here we are. We got that one, I believe, as well. We did. They won by 12 um, over the Timberwolves, so that one was good as well. So we got both of those. I had Denver plus the 10. That one hit as well, as they only lose by 7 to the Phoenix Suns. So 3 for 3 so far. Memphis minus 5 is where we kind of get derailed here. Nope, they won by 14 against the Clippers, so that one hits as well. And then I had the Dodgers minus a run and a half against the Diamondbacks. So let me pull that up real quick. So far, so good. I've kept all my money. So let's see if could I hit the fiver. That would be something. That would be the second time this whole entire podcast that we have hit on all of our picks. So let's see if the Diamondbacks are gonna piss me off here, or if we're going to get some good results here. Let's see, Diamondbacks. Yes, we lost that one. The Diamondbacks took the win 2-1. So we lost that one. So we hit on 4 out of 5. Not bad at all. If you're doing individual bets, still making some money. So let's see, 60 plus 50, 110, 135. So I have 135, and then we add 100 each week, so I'm at 235. So there you go, right there. I go 4 and 1 to be 57 and 44. So 57 and 44 so far for us. And we'll put Zach up here at 0 and 0, getting started here. Won't be the last time we'll have him on, that's for sure. So he will be back with us to go over these picks. So let's go ahead and let's get this started, as we're gonna start with the XFL games tonight. Got some good ones coming up this weekend. Saturday is when these games will take place, so a little bit of time to think about these. So you have the Vipers and the Battlehawks. Battlehawks are favored by 6.5. Got the Renegades and the Guardians. The Guardians are actually favored by a point, as they got their first win in the XFL against the DC Defenders last week. And then the Sunday games, you have the Roughnecks and the Brahmas. The Roughnecks favored by 4.5, and then the Sea Dragons are favored by 1.5 against the DC Defenders. Who do you like as your game to pick out of these for you?
I'm taking Sea Dragons minus 1.5.
Okay, Sea Dragons.
That's the easiest here.
Sea Dragons minus 1.5 versus DC. And how much do you want to put that out of your 200 confidence scale? How we?
I would put. Give me 30 on that.
30. Okay, I'll put 30 on there.
Yeah, not super confident. I don't like betting on the XFL, but with all the weird scoring rules and everything.
Right.
But,
I mean, hey, it's treacherous out here, and the Guardians game against DC will prove that to you.
But I really like the Sea Dragons this year.
Yeah, Sea Dragons looking good. I am gonna go with my boy Bob Stoops. We're gonna go with the Renegades to pull the upset. Renegades. I mean, look, I'm all for Orlando. I think it's good they're finally on the board, but I think that they're that bad. So I'm gonna take the Renegades +1 versus Orlando. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put 50 big ones on it. Give me big game Bob, giving me big money. Putting me down to 175 or 185. Excuse me, 185. For our second game, we will go to the NBA. We will go NBA here with I believe we had 2 NBA picks. Yep, we got 3 NBA picks. We'll do 3 NBA picks, and then we'll finish with a baseball pick, because I guess that's what we're doing now that Everything else has come to a close. So I'll give you some NBA games tonight. Let's start with the hometown game, the Thunder against the Warriors. The Warriors favored by 8.
Yep, I will take that Thunder +8 there. I think the Thunder are going to be fighting real hard tonight. They have to secure that 10 seed. I think SGA is going to play fantastic. I think Jalen Williams, look for him to get 20, 25 plus tonight. Um, yeah, I would throw, let's see, I put 30. Go ahead and give me 70 on the Thunder +8.
All
That's
right, I
big
like
money
that.
there.
I like that.
I think that's an that's easily a close game. I don't necessarily think the Thunder are winning that game, but I don't see them losing by 8.
All right, 70 big ones. Got $100 left for the last
Mhm.
three. So the next one for me, my first NBA pick. I mean, I obviously have to do this game too. I'm also gonna go with the Thunder +8 here.
Mhm.
Um, like you said, they are fighting. This is a huge game for them tonight, and I'm gonna put 50 on them as well. We'll just go ahead and put me down to 135 left for these last three because, again, this is about good playoff positioning here, and if you can win this game, you're gonna have a real shot at trying to get yourself into not just a play-in game, but an actual series where you're gonna get a for sure 4 games under your belt. And that's good for a young team like the Thunder. So I think that Shea's going to have a big game. I look for him to hit that over on Prize Picks tonight. I think that whatever number they throw out there for points, assists, rebounds, just pick more. I don't think that there's any doubt that he's going to try to enforce his will offensively, and try to keep the Thunder in this as best as possible. Um, Isaiah Joe threes pick the over. I think that Isaiah Joe is going to have a big game for them to stay in this, and that's the only way I see them. He's one of their best 3-point shooters, hands down. So I think you have to give him his due. And I would say go ahead and pick the under on Klay Thompson for points. I think Lou Dort's going to shut him down. I think it's time for that to happen. And we'll
Yeah,
just
their own stuff too. I think SGA is going to play really good defense on him tonight.
yeah.
His defense has been a lot better the last couple of games. He's averaging like almost 2 steals a game for the season. Um, you know, I would go ahead and put the under on Steph as well.
All right, I like it. I like it. So for your third pick, you can pick whatever NBA game you would
Mhm.
like. We have Celtics 76ers tonight, a big one in the East. We
Are you
got
looking at DraftKings, right?
say what? Yeah, I'm looking.
You're
I'm
looking
using
on
DraftKings. Yes, I'm using DraftKings right now.
right
Um,
now. I like the Cavaliers.
like the Cavs.
Uh,
Cavs -5 against the Magic.
I think the Magic are not trying to win this game. I think they're not trying to win this game by a lot so that they can try. They're on the Wimby hunt, and I think the Cavaliers want to make sure that they secure their spot in the East. I would take the Cavs -5 right now. I think that line should be a lot higher than it is, especially looking at some of these other lines like Bucks
Do
-14.
do we know if
Rap-
Donovan Mitchell is playing or not?
Ooh, that might
Because
be
I
the
feel
thing.
like you would be right if he was playing, but if he's not playing, you're sure they're gonna win. But I still think the 5 is low if he doesn't play. You know what I'm saying? I think Garland takes over if he doesn't play.
Is Donovan Mitchell playing today? He, why can I not get a? Can't get a look on his status. Where's his status at? Let's see.
It usually says on his player profile on ESPN if he's active or not, but I don't know if that means he's going to sit or not.
He's not on the injury report right now,
Yeah.
obviously. But let me see. There he is. It says active.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, how much you want to put down on that? You got 100 to play with. Yeah, two more after this.
Yeah, I'll say 40 on that.
40 on that. All right.
Yeah, I think even without Donovan Mitchell, to look for Evan Mobley to have a big game. I think Kevin Cavaliers are pretty easily going to take the Magic tonight.
I'm gonna go with the pick nobody sees coming right now. I'm gonna go with the Spurs +19 against the Suns.
I
Um,
like that.
I think the Suns win this by double digits, but not by 20. I don't think they win this thing by 20. Um, go ahead and give me 35 on that. Um, I mean, I don't know. I know they're gonna lose. Like the Spurs are probably gonna lose, but not by 20. Not by
Yeah,
20.
I don't imagine them losing by 20.
Um, for your third NBA game, who you going with?
Go ahead and do me the Bulls -6 tonight.
Okay.
I think they're fighting for that 10 seed. They want to make sure they stay in that 10 seed. And I think 6 is a little bit low for them. I think look for DeMar DeRozan to have a big game tonight. Zach LaVine to also have a big game tonight. Whatever the over is on Zach LaVine threes, probably hit that.
You want to put
Uh,
30 on these last two picks?
yeah, I'll just split them on 30.
Okay, we'll do 30 on that one as well. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're 100% right. I'm gonna put 50 on my last two because that's what I got left. So these are gonna be probably two of my locks of the week because it'd be insane for me to put 50 on two bets and them not be on my three locks of the week here. Um, you know what? For my last NBA game, I'm gonna go with the Portland. You know what? No, give me. I mean, that Portland line seems high to me. 17 and a
Dame's
half
not playing.
underdog against the Grizzlies.
Dame's not playing. Jump and Jaw, he's starting to come back.
But I mean,
That's a
18's
big
a
line though.
yeah, 18 big for the NBA in general. 18 is big.
Hmm.
Um, but if it's not going to be that one, I mean, obviously I'm not going to pick the Celtics 76ers game. That could be anybody's game. That 2.5 point spread is maybe too low in my opinion. That game may be maybe a lot closer than we think. The Heat -13 against the Pistons is okay, but I mean, again, how guaranteed is that? I mean, I think the Heat are going to win, but
I
15 plus.
thought about that Heat game, and
Yeah, I mean,
I do think the Pistons are not trying to win
no,
tonight, but
no, no way they're trying to win. You know what? I think I'm going to go with. Do we know why the Kings are not favored against the Pelicans tonight? Are they resting people? Because they are 4 point dogs against the Pelicans right now. I don't know if
let's
I like. Because I like the Kings. I mean, like the beam, brother. I mean, they are going to the playoffs. The first time in 16 years. They are playing some good basketball, but if Sabonis or Fox or somebody is sitting,
right now the only people on the injury report are Malik Monk and 2015 Finals God Matthew Dellavedova.
that's right. He's a god.
Um,
Yeah, fuck that. I'm gonna go with that huge spread. 17 and a half is a lot. Well,
it's a lot.
give me Portland plus 17 and a half. Um, versus the Riz. But
Hmm.
instead, I'm gonna put 35 on that one because I feel a lot more confident on my Spurs pick. So I'm gonna put 50 on that one instead. I'm gonna switch it. I'll put 50 on the Spurs and I'll put 35 on that one because I feel like the Spurs are not going to lose by 20 to the Suns. It's a lot safer pick than the Portland one. I mean, I knew Dame wasn't going to play, but I mean, if Jaw's going to play, then yeah, I mean, it could get out of hand. Um, so for our last pick, we'll go to the MLB. MLB. Go ahead and see what we got. We got one game going on right now.
I already know my lock.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it is a lock. Um, so I'm looking at the Rangers, my team, the Texas Rangers, -1.5 runs against the Orioles. Um, the Rangers started off with like 20, 22 runs in their first two games. Um, I think the Rangers are hot. I think they're winning this game by not just two. I think they're winning this game by 3 or 4 runs.
I like that. I like that.
And pretty much all of these lines are 1.5 too.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty consistent with baseball
Except
the
for
way.
the live line for the Padres Diamondbacks is 3.5. So
And that's a fifth inning too. Yep, if
mhm.
you bet the Diamondbacks, you're looking okay right now, boys. For my pick, and people told me this all season just to bet against the Reds. Um, yeah, because the Reds, I guess, are going to be terrible. But they're playing the Cubs, and I don't know how good the Cubs are this year. So I'm probably not going to touch that as much as probably want to. Uh, Astros are playing the Tigers. Astros still looking pretty good.
You got to look at
Um,
that Angels Mariners game. The Angels aren't favorites.
yeah, they're not. Probably a pitching thing. I'm thinking. Um,
Hmm.
you know what? I'm gonna go with the hometown team. Give me the Dodgers -1.5 against the Rockies. Give me the
Good pick.
Dodgers -1.5 versus Colorado. All right, so I'll go ahead and give my locks here. My first lock is the Spurs plus 19 versus the Suns. And obviously, for locks, we don't do money. We just do whether they're right or not.
Hmm.
So my first is Spurs plus 19. My second is going to be the Dodgers minus the 1.5 runs versus the Rockies. And my third one is going to be the Thunder plus the
Hmm.
8 versus GSW. And on the year for locks, we are 29 and 28.
Hmm.
So we are not as good as locks of the week as we are picking just in general. Zach, give me your three, brother.
I'm gonna have to copy you there on the Thunder +8. I think that's an easy lock tonight. Obviously, I put like 60 of my imaginary dollars on that one.
70. You went
Seven,
70.
yeah, that's a lock. And I think my second lock is also in the NBA. Give me the Cavs -5, and then yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the Rangers, Texas Rangers here, winning by
Rangers
2 runs.
1.5. Looking for that 2-0 win, brother. Looking for
Hmm.
anything, but we think that they're probably going to put up more than that. So there you
Yeah.
go. There's the locks of the week. Um, so there you have it. Episode number 24 wrapped up and delivered to you, Zach. I appreciate you being here, brother. Any final words before we get out of here?
No, nothing other than Thunder up tonight. We're looking for that win. Appreciate being here today.
Absolutely, and we will have you back on. Just let me know when you're available next, and we'll hop back on. Everybody, keep your sticks on the ice, and we'll see you in episode number 25.